It's time for another edition of the Daily Racing Form weekend preview. And this week, we're going to stay put at Colonial Downs. We don't head over there very often, but there are some big races there this weekend, including the Arlington Million. Very excited to welcome in my good friend, Scott Shapiro, joining us again. How's everything going on your end, Scotty?
Going well, Gino. We've got like an interesting kind of midsummer weekend here where Colonial, as you mentioned, takes center stage nationally. Saratoga and Del Mar, of course, with big cards, but nice to change things up a little bit.
Now, for all of you who are playing the races, maybe you're not the most hardcore racing fan and you dabble, you dip in and out. You really want to check out the new tool that Daily Racing Form has, the AI tool. You can check it out at chat.drf.com, and you can ask DRF AI any questions you might have. Do you need help with horse racing odds? Maybe you're curious about a trifecta. Maybe you're someone who looks for long shots. That's what I like to do with this, Scott. I'll ask it, can you find me some 10-to-1 shots that might be logical horses later in the pick four? And then it'll give me a list of a couple of horses each race I can take a second look at. So I know you and I are kind of old school guys. We see this AI stuff. It's a little new for us, but this one's pretty simple, and I think it's helpful for the newer bettors.
Yeah, AI. I mean, Allen Iverson was AI.
Right? Yeah. We talking about practice here, or are we talking about AI, right?
We got to embrace the technology, my friend.
So as we move over to Colonial, we're going to take a look at the Arlington Million. I want to set this race up a little bit before we get into it. This was the first U.S. race to have a $1 million purse. And shout out to Joe Joyce, the father of Mike Joyce, who I worked with, a good friend of mine who worked over on TVG and now works on FanDuel. He actually created this race. They met with some of the producers from like NBC. They put it all together. They had Budweiser sponsoring the thing, and they raised a huge purse. And Scott, when you go through the history of this race, you see some of the jockeys like Shoemaker, Lafitte Pincay Jr., Chris McCarron, Jerry Bailey, Ramon Dominguez, and then into Irad Ortiz. You see some of the trainers who have won it, D. Wayne Lucas, into some of the all-time greats now like Chad Brown. You look at John Henry, the Tin Man, the Pizza Man, Gio Ponte. There have been some really cool connections who have won this race through the years.
The Tin Man and the Pizza Man. Those are two horses and two men, of course. But yeah, this was for a long time, you know, the centerpiece of the summer in terms of this division, which is kind of the long distance in the States. Routers, mile and a quarter. You got the classic distance. And yeah, I mean, it's not the race it used to be, but it's still got a pretty good field this year, grade one. And I think maybe some opportunity.
Yeah, and the familiar name for a lot of folks with the number one Mystic Dan, who won the Kentucky Derby last year. And Scott, while he was a Derby winner last year, right now this year, he's probably put together the best 3 races in a row that he has in his career. Really strong form right now. He's going to try the turf for the first time. His dam actually won on the grass. I think from a class standpoint, it's actually a really good spot for him to try the turf because while it is a grade one, you don't have the deepest field. You have a couple horses who might be legitimate grade one horses, but if he can transfer that dirt form over to the turf, he's probably not too far out of this race.
No, I mean, that's a big if. It takes a lot to be competitive in graded stakes races on both surfaces, but we have seen it before. I think what I like most, if I'm leaning towards stuff with Mystic Dan and favoring him in this race, is that he drew the inside. We know he loves that pocket trip, and he's got his pilot aboard, regular pilot Brian Hernandez Jr. I would expect that pocket trip in here as well.
Next one up is the number 2 Time Song, grade 3 place, but kind of feels like a big long shot in here, Scott. I could see him being one of a couple showing some early speed in this race.
Yeah, without question. You have Luis Saez aboard. You see speed out in Southern California, albeit in a little bit easier races going a little bit longer. It would be really surprising if this horse wasn't involved early. It would also be really surprising if he was around late for a major share.
Yeah, because what makes it tough for him is the 2 horses drawn right to his outside. They both also have speed. Vesting is a horse who's been in pretty good form, but he wants to be sitting close, and so he'll be at least putting a little pressure on the 2 Time Song.
Yeah, I give him more of a chance, as does the morning line, to run successfully in this race. But he's been loose on the lead in his 2 career wins. I don't see that happening with any chance today, and they were both against lesser. So Mike Maker, third off the layoff. We've seen upsets before, but I think he's up against it.
Of the 3 horses here, the 2, 3, 4 that look like they're going to be involved early, I did think the one that you mentioned right there, Vesting, it has the best chance of sitting off and passing horses a little bit. He's shown that he can do that. Runway Storm is really, really quick. He's going to make the 3rd start off the long layoff. He's a grade 3 winner. Now, he has come from off the pace. It was kind of by accident because he had a slow start that day. He really does want to be on the lead or sitting pretty close, Scott.
Without question. Alex Ashard, not an overly aggressive jock. Haven't watched him over the years in Kentucky and elsewhere. Maybe they try, since they're drawing outside the other speeds, to try a little bit of a new running style. This horse had a lot of promise last year, and then he went to the sidelines. I think he's up against it as well from a race shape and class perspective.
The number 5 is Cairo. He won 3 of his first 5 starts, but since then he's 0 for the last 16. But in that stretch of races, he has faced some of the top horses in the world overseas. He just doesn't win a whole lot, Scott. So a Group 3 winner, multiple Group 1 placed. I didn't really know what to do with him on the win end. I think at least in the try and an under horse, but he gets shy getting his picture taken.
He sure does. Now, he'll be a lot shorter priced than a lot of his better efforts over there and against softer competition. But, you bring it up 0 for 12 dating back to the start of 2024. He's got 9 seconds and 21 starts. So, he makes a lot of sense. Obviously, in many ways, coming over from Europe, you never really know what to expect. Alice Haynes, I'm not overly familiar with, but he should be finishing well, you would suspect.
We move to Fort Washington, who's a really cool horse now as a 6-year-old. He's just gotten a little bit better over the last 2 years or so. He's a multiple graded stakes winner, and his trainer is a very patient trainer. He's sort of let this horse develop and let this horse get to his best, his A game. Now, if Fort Washington shows up with one of those good races, like 2 starts back, I don't think he's far off from winning this race or being right there with the top contenders.
Yeah, that effort 2 back in the dinner party was on the Preakness Stakes undercard, and that was the effort that really kind of propelled him into my eye a little more than kind of just an underneath type horse, like he more was in the bigger races I saw him in. But he was up closer to the pace that day. Yes, it was slower, but you would have thought that would impact him negatively, but he was able to put forth a really good effort to win. I'm not going to hold the wise Dane against him. I think Brilliant Birdie's better in terms of, I think, that horse isn't a 1.25 mile horse, but he's very talented for Cherie DeVaux. I think Fort Washington's going to get a good setup and put forth a big effort.
If you look at his form and you don't see a whole lot of grade 1s, don't worry about that, because while this is a grade 1, it's not really as deep as a lot of the others. So I think his recent form fits with this group. We move to Grand Sonata. Scott, he's a multiple graded stakes winner. He comes off a pretty good effort last time out. He was second in the United Nations. He earned a really good speed rating, speed figure that day. And with a top effort, he's not far off being in the mix with this group.
No, he's not. And he's got a lot of, he's honest as they come, first and foremost. You see the one poor effort, but that was over the slop in a wash-off race. You can put a line through that. I think he's honest, and I think he makes a lot of sense kind of as a key horse in the exotics, because he has a good chance to have the board at a pretty good price. On the win end, I do prefer others, though.
Integration rounds out the field. He's certainly the horse to beat. I think he's a deserving favorite in here. His 4 races this year, he's finished second 3 times in grade 1s. And then in the other, he was really unlucky. He had a bad trip. He just missed in this race that we're watching here, Scott. This is the grade 1 Manhattan. And he lost to a sharp horse, Deterministic, who won that race, just came back and won another graded stakes race last weekend. So I think integration is like the measuring stick for this field. If nobody jumps up with a really good, impressive performance, integration probably wins this race. But now, for a horse who likes to settle for seconds and some minor awards at a short price, I don't necessarily just think he's a cinch in here.
Yeah, that's the thing. And he might get bet like one and used like one in horizontals. 8 to 5 on the line, deservingly so. He likes to win races at Colonial, 3 for 4. I just don't fully trust him, although this is a very good spot for him to get a breakthrough victory.
That's the key, right? You don't trust him necessarily at a short price to be a horse that you would single. As we move to selection, Scott, I have never picked him on top before, but Mystic Dan is going to be my top selection. I think the class fits well. If he can take to the turf, I can see him saving ground on the inside and getting that nice trip. You were also going to look for a little bit of a price in here. You're going with the really cool Fort Washington.
I am. Fort Washington's probably going to get one of the best race shapes that he has in his career. He ran 3rd over this course in the one try he's had. Just looks like he's coming into the race and should get the right setup, and he's 4 to 1 on the line.
That's the field for the Arlington Million, but don't go anywhere. We still have more graded stakes action to preview at Colonial. We'll go back to race 9 and set you up for the Secretariat.
We don't care where you were drafted. You outperform somebody, you're going to be on that football field. Now, again, there are extenuating circumstances where he drafted quarterback number 3 overall. Yeah, they're going to try him out for the next 3 to 4 years, even if he's not as good as anybody on that roster. But from Shador's perspective, that's probably the case. Tyler Huntley, Shador Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Deshaun Watson. There's a lot of names on that list, not a lot of good names on that list, so he can earn a job on this football team.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Every time he's there, he just finds a way, and he's going to break through. Look at Cameron Young. Cameron Young was one of those guys, too. Remember Cameron Young? Second in the Open Championship, fourth, like plays great in majors, almost won the Canadian Open again. I seen this guy play live. I'm like, how does this guy not have a win? And then last week, Kev, you saw what he did. He put his foot on your throat, wrestling style. He didn't just win, he murdered the competition last week.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Was already pretty solid up top, but you had the bottom that's that much better with Ryan O'Hearn and Lariano. Like, we now have a well-rounded lineup on top of a great pitching staff. Michael King is expected to start making his rehab starts. So you have him plus Pavetta plus Dylan Cease. You Darvish is back. You have the frontline pitching, the depth in the lineup, and now a great bullpen. You have it all.
I really like it. Like I do. Like sometimes I get caught up in the Padres because of what they can be.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid. This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
Back a couple races to preview the Grade 2 Secretariat. This is going to run a little earlier on the card at Colonial on Saturday. Scott, before we get into the field, just have to mention, the race was named for Secretariat, the GOAT in horse racing. And when this race was created in 1973, they were all looking for a spot to run Secretariat. All these different tracks were trying to lure him in to run over at their track. And he ran in this race 3 weeks after winning the Triple Crown. His owner and trainer said he was going to break the barn down if we didn't find a spot to run for him. So he just wins the Triple Crown, and then 3 weeks later, he's running in a race on the turf over at Arlington Park. It just shows you how times have changed.
Sure does. Secretariat, I believe, has the same birthday as me. Maybe one of my big claim to fame. What a monster Big Red was. I will say that this is a enjoyable race, but not living up to the namesake.
Yeah, Scott shares a birthday with Secretariat. I do with the Undertaker, WWE wrestler. So we both have some famous birthdays. We move to the field for the Secretariat. Scott, let's take a look at the one Giacoso, who comes out of the American turf. When you just stack up some of the races that he exits, he's been facing really tough company. Horses like Zulu Kingdom, even a horse like Magnitude on the dirt, who's probably going to be pointing towards the Travers. So I do think he exits that live race with 4 next out winners from the Grade 1 American turf.
He's a good horse. My biggest question with him is, well, other than the obvious layoff, Keith DeSormo, not necessarily a guy that I think has his runners cranked it, off the bench or first asking. There's just not a lot of speed for him to run out in this race. He has been able in the past a couple of times to be a little closer to the pace, but I don't know, all things considered, if 6-1's fair.
Maui Strong is interesting if he runs in this race. He's cross-entered, and I think this might be where he goes, Scott, because there's not a lot of other early speed in here. So if he ends up settling in this race, he could be a major player in here.
Maui Strong certainly should get a good trip. I think he's going to sit second. I know our pace projector time form had him in front. I will talk about the horse. I think will probably be on the lead. But either way, Maui Strong was in really top form, I thought, at Gulfstream Park. Dale Romans was at that point. No real excuses in the last couple of, other than last time took on an obvious good horse in Zulu Kingdom.
He was entered in a race on Thursday at Saratoga, and he scratched out of that race. So it should be running in this one, and he'll be a major player in a race where there's not that much early speed if he can sit a nice trip. We move to End of Romance, who was a most recent winner at Delaware. Now, he was behind a rival, Dream On, a couple starts back in the Woodhaven Stakes, but he gets the job done here, and he is a horse who showed a lot more positional speed in this race, Scott. So if he can sit closer, that could help him in the Secretariat.
Yeah, Blinker, second time, got him out of the gate in better order. His other two starts, he was really putting himself in tough positions. That was a lot lesser field. I think the Woodhaven looks a little better on paper than it was in actuality. I think 5-1 a little short.
Simulate is the next one up. And this is a horse who's only raced one time on the grass, and it was very good. He looked super professional. He sat, his most recent win was very, very good. He's won 2 of his last 3. I was reading my notes for a different horse, Scotty. But if you toss his debut sprinting, this is a horse who is in very, very nice form. To me, the key with him is the trip that he could sit, because we keep talking about this race as there's not that much early speed. He can put himself right behind the early leaders and just get a great trip. So for me, I think he's one of the horses who might be able to capitalize if there's not that much early speed in here.
I think he's going great. I don't necessarily think he's race shape dependent or trip dependent. He showed the ability to run well at Delaware when they really didn't seem to be trying all that much, probably a clear prep. And then last time, Junior Alvarado with a much more aggressive plan. Maybe it was the horse, maybe not. This horse is sitting on a big race. The Lasix, I guess, would be one of the questions. He has run on it. The last couple won't get to here.
Wouldn't be shocked if he gets bet a little bit. I think 5-1 and above, very fair price for him if he's somewhere in that range. We move to Antisocial. Scott, he's in pretty nice form right now. He has won 2 of his last 3. And what's nice about him, he sits forward trip, and he has an aggressive rider on him, someone who gets horses out of the gate and puts them in a really nice spot. I could see him sitting in a good spot and being a horse who trips out.
I think he's going to be on the lead. You look at Vincent Chamino on Maui Strong and Louis Saez on Antisocial. I think Louis likely to be more aggressive of the two, assuming a good break. You mentioned he was the one you were going to say, only a couple starts on the grass thus far. Yep. You know, has to step up in here. The horse that finished second in the race he was last out has had plenty of chances to win.
We move to Anegada. He ran really well on June 7th at Churchill. Then in his most recent race, the race didn't really shape up all that well for him. I didn't know what to do with him overall, Scott. He just has that one victory. I think he's a little below some of the others. So I could see maybe minor awards for him.
Yeah, he's going to be a big price. It's probably the biggest thing you could have going for him. His lone win came against $50,000 maiden claimers. He did run well 2 back to Native Runner. Yinzer wired the field last out, to your point, not really giving him a fair shake.
The 2 horses that round out the field, Cairo Caper and Dream On, they both come out of the same race most recently. They were in the Grade 3 Penn Mile. They finished first and second. It was kind of a tale of 2 trips, Scott, as Cairo Caper had to go wide, and he got forced a little bit wide into the turn. Dream On was able to save all the ground, and he was able to move through horses. So while Dream On won the race, I would say that Cairo Caper probably had the tougher of the 2 trips between the 2 of them. Cairo Caper, who we can talk a little bit about first, was the runner-up.
Yeah, Cairo Caper's intriguing to me from a gambling perspective. I understand why Dream On is favored over him to win this race. But as you mentioned, was wide when Dream On was not wide at all last out. The Woodhaven was his first start off a long layoff. The question to me is, is he a miler or does he want to sprint more? But I think he's in with a shot.
If you ever go and find some of the videos online, there's probably one of me and Scott singing some karaoke with Dream On, Scott, going back and forth, right? Dream on, dream on. What do we think about this guy who rounds out the field here?
If he's 5-2, I think he's a fade in this race. He got the right trip last time out. I think he looks better on paper, or it's more of a standout on paper than he does in actuality. You look at speed figures, you look at trips. He doesn't really stand out, but if he floats up a little bit, or I understand why someone would gun ahead pick him as the likeliest winner, he does look like he's training very well coming into the race.
He's really honest. My concern is that I wonder if he's hit his ceiling. Like if we've seen the best from him, if he was one of these horses who was precocious, maybe just a little bit ahead of a lot of the horses in his group. And I'm looking for some of the others who might have more upside, who I think still have some steps forward that they can take. So we move to selections here, Scott. And you and I both land on the same one. We're looking for Simulate. We're looking for a little bit of value on the 4. I said 5-1. Is that about fair for you? Something in that range?
4-1 or higher, I think I would wager on him. I think he's the now horse in this race and should get the right trip.
4782 for Scott, 4158 for me. Don't go anywhere when we return. One more race to preview at Colonial.
They're in a decent spot. They actually had a really great quarter this past quarter, and they're crediting what they're calling a smarter approach to sports betting and player quality, not just being lucky and being on the winning side of more bets. Of course, the past 2 quarters have been really bad for sports books, which just got hammered in the NFL playoffs, and then that continued into March Madness. But it looks like Q2 is shaping up to be much better for them.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Joey Ohtani's only seen him 7 times, 7 at-bats. He's got a home run against him. I've been pretty good at jumping in and out with Ohtani. I don't take him to hit a home run every day. The odds are good enough tonight, Scott, at plus 230 to entice me. I've got a bet on Ohtani's season home run prop at 43.5, which, he's nearly there.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
It was already pretty solid up top, but you had the bottom that's that much better with Ryan O'Hearn and Lariano. Like, we now have a well-rounded lineup on top of a great pitching staff. Michael King is expected to start making his rehab starts. So you have him plus Pivetta plus Dylan Cease. You Darvish is back. You have the frontline pitching, the depth of the lineup, and now a great bullpen. You have it all.
I really like it. Like I do. Like sometimes I get caught up in the Padres because of what they can be.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
We don't care where you were drafted. You outperform somebody, you're going to be on that football field. Now, again, there are extenuating circumstances where you draft a quarterback number 3 overall. Yeah, they're going to try him out for the next 3 to 4 years, even if he's not as good as anybody on that roster. But from Shador's perspective, that's probably the case. Tyler Huntley, Shador Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Deshaun Watson. There's a lot of names on that list, not a lot of good names on that list, so he can earn a job on this football team.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Final segment. It's another graded stakes race at Colonial Downs. You can actually play all of these races as part of a pick 5 that starts in race number 7 earlier on the card. It goes through all of these graded stakes that we discussed. Now we're going to preview race 10 for Saturday. This one is the grade 2 Beverly D. And Scott, we can start out with Chick Shadow. You sort of know what you're going to get with her. She's an 8-year-old mare. She's a deep closer. She's very honest. She likes to show up and run second and third and hit the board. This is probably better than she's ever faced. And this is also going to be a longer distance than what she's used to. She's been used to running a little bit shorter distances. I will say there are versions of this race where you could see it getting a little quick with a few speed horses in a small field, but I don't know if this would be the closer I would be looking at to capitalize if it does go fast.
She looks like she's pretty outclassed in here. She should get a good setup, like you mentioned, as we'll go through this compact field. Her last win, though, August 17th of 2024 at Gulfstream over the all-weather. So, yeah, I think if you're looking to wager on this horse, it's King or for third or something.
The number 2, Be Your Best, is trained by Safi Joseph Jr. And I always want to applaud him when this horse runs, when Skippy Longstocking runs, because one of the reasons why Safi wins a lot of races, he finds great spots for his horses. And this is another good spot for Be Your Best. Scott, she's coming off a grade 1 win in the Gamely when she was classier than this field, and it was a perfect spot. He found a race where there wasn't that much early speed. She went right to the lead. She dusted that group, and now she gets to come back here to another spot where she's super logical. She actually doesn't even need the lead either. She's shown us she can sit off the pace a little bit if someone wants to go out front. I've just grown to really respect her a lot over the last year.
Yeah, she started out as a very good 2-year-old for the Horacio de Paz barn, had a dip in her career, but Safi has kind of resurrected her, if you will. She really speed burned him last time. She went fast early. I don't think she'll be on the lead in here because I think she's going to have to go fast again and have a little bit more contention up there.
Right next door to Be Your Best is Beach Bomb. She's a South African bred runner, and she is a Group 1 winner in South Africa, a multiple graded stakes winner in the U.S. She only has one bad race in the U.S. of the 7 races she's run. And that was a close 8th in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. It really wasn't even a bad race. This is a monster effort, Scott, when she finishes second in the Grade 1 New York, right behind She Feels Pretty over a yielding turf course. She Feels Pretty has been one of the better horses in training in the U.S. over the last couple of years. I just think Beach Bomb is in fantastic form, and she's a top player in here.
Yeah, that's the truth for sure. Top form. You questioned her maybe a little bit, taking advantage of a speed favoring turf course with loose leads at Gulfstream. Her last 2 have been very good. The question is, can she, win this race if she's not loose on the lead? Kind of the same question we're going to ask her the next one.
Yeah, she's been much better in those last 4 races where you've seen her show speed and use that as a weapon. But Charlene's Dream, she might be the most need the lead type of all of these horses. I don't know if she really wants to sit off. Scott, you look at what she did at Pimlico a couple starts back. That was on a really speed favoring turf course, and it may have helped her. So I think she might be the one to catch in here. I still don't really know how good she is, though.
Yeah, and she could be over the top. She's raced 3 times. This is her 4th start. She's good. She doesn't want to be rated. That's the thing. Rafael Bejarano, a pretty patient rider, couldn't really relax her. She's going to go. I just think she's going to have to deal with other ones up there.
Number 5, Spanish Eyes, is Grade 1 placed in Germany. She is a lightly raced 4-year-old. She only has the 1 victory, but I think you can go through her career and make some excuses for some poor performances. Her 2 races in the U.S., pretty good. She was second last time out to a horse named Marksman Queen, who was able to get the jump on her in that race. Spanish Eyes could get a nice setup if they go quick in this small field and she's able to sit behind them. Does she stack up with this field class-wise, though? Can she get the job done here, Scotty?
Well, I don't think it's the strongest group in terms of the Grade 2 level. She obviously only has 1 win, none in the States. That's the big question. But I can make excuses, like you said, for both of her recent starts, dating back to the mid-May. Last time Marksman Queen was 6-5 and loose on the lead, to your point.
Duvet Day will round out the field. She's a deep closer. And so in this field, Scott, you have 6 horses. It feels like 3 of them are kind of speed horses who want to be forward, and the other 3 will probably be from off the pace. The way I was kind of projecting it, I could see Duvet Day and Chick Shadow being the deep closers, and maybe Spanish Eyes is the one that kind of gets the jump on Duvet Day. But if they do go fast, you know that Duvet Day will come running late.
She will. I just think we know what she is. She's kind of plotty. I think she needs everything to go right to be at her best. 3-1, if that's the truth, that's a no, Pat. That's a no thank you. But I definitely agree with all the other sentiments about the positive parts of her.
Let's move to selections here. And as you take a look, Scott's going to throw the 3 Beach Bomb up, who's been in great form. We have the same top 3, just in a slightly different order. And don't forget, this weekend, any help that you need, check out chat.drf.com, that DRF AI tool. We'll see you all back here again next week.
We don't care where you were drafted. You outperform somebody, you're going to be on that football field. Now, again, there are extenuating circumstances where you draft a quarterback number 3 overall. Yeah, they're going to try him out for the next 3 to 4 years, even if he's not as good as anybody on that roster. But from Shadur's perspective, that's probably the case. Tyler Huntley, Shadur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Deshaun Watson. There's a lot of names on that list, not a lot of good names on that list, so he can earn a job on this football team.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's becoming just harder in general to do business from a money standpoint in general, let alone the competition. So yeah, Betfred closing up shop, will be gone by tomorrow. We'll see if any sportsbook fills this void. It'll mean that there's a license up for grabs in Pennsylvania, which is one of the biggest states for sports betting and is home to a lot of other operators. At this point, we're getting to a time when no one's rushing into the market.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
I was that confused trying to figure out why Cameron Young isn't as good as he should be, because we've seen all the flashes. Like at some point of his career, he's been elite at something. Like he's been elite at putting this year. He's been an elite iron player. He's been an elite driver of the golf ball. So check out this chart I had to get.
We got a chart.
Look at this chart that I had to come up with.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid. This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts